Good morning from beautiful Brisbane, Australia, and it's Friday, where even technology wanted the day off, but we've mastered it. Well, I have mastered it this morning, and we're here. Welcome, Conscious Warriors, to the end of the week and to an interesting morning where we're going to look at how to learn to say no, but we're also going to look at why we're finding it hard to say no, which is really more important, but it leads into, once we understand it, then we can learn how to say no. Now, if you're here for the first time, welcome. It's great to have you with us. We have a class full of people who come along each Facebook Live and join in and get to know each other all around the world, and it's wonderful. And welcome. And to all the class, good morning class. It's great to be here with you this morning. Good morning, Tamika. And just so, sorry, the words just went straight out of my mind then, thinking about too many things. First of all, if you look down on the Facebook page, I've put in a link to a Udemy course for CBT. Now, I don't normally do this kind of thing. It's the first time actually that I've done it. But the reason why I've done it is CBT, even though it, I don't know, about 15 or so years ago, I think, it was, up there in what practitioners were practicing just CBT. But this particular course will help us with complex PTSD gain a greater depth of interpersonal skills. So it's not just about self-reflection, it's interpersonal skill set, which we don't have because we never were raised with it, all right? And I explained that the reason why I'm doing it, apart from the fact that it's $20 instead of $200, is because I read through the whole list. And one of the things that when it comes to interpersonal skills, and think about when you're in a relationship of any nature, you need interpersonal skills, is because we didn't get raised equipped with interpersonal skills. And so the part of our brain that is social and sense of self, it's really important that we gain information in order to have, picture our brain as the big computer. Those apps need to be wired, okay, with information. So if you're at the stage where you want to increase your interpersonal skills, so you want to be able to move out of just the environment that you're in, which is something that I'm looking to do. So I'm looking to go out and talk to people about complex PTSD, my story, all that sort of thing. And I'm aware that my interpersonal skills, I don't know what I don't know. And so this is one way of finding out what it is I don't know, and also being more equipped to help people than I already am. And it's a good thing to do, is to study, and it's at your own pace, all right? So if you feel that you're at that stage of recovery where you want to increase your interpersonal skills, for $20 you can study at home and learn a really good lot of information that'll be really healthy to you. Okay, today, learning how to say no. First of all, we want to understand why it is we can't say no. Now, when we were growing up in our families, we need to be able to self-reflect and say, what was my particular circumstances? Because complex PTSD is individual to everyone. So that's why practitioners are having a hard time saying, well, use this skill set, use that skill set. And that's why I got into coaching, because it's more about the interpersonal relationship, because the abuse, the trauma, everything happened in the context of an interpersonal relationship. And things like psychology, psychotherapy, so on and so on, don't allow for that client-centered relationship. They are starting to teach psychologists about interpersonal client-centered practice. So you can always ask them, do they do that? But you'll definitely find that with a coach, that it is about the interpersonal relationship, so that you can gain even greater recovery steps and more quickly than just doing talk therapy. By the way, talk therapy has been shown to be not as effective in complex PTSD recovery. So it has its place, but we need more structure and strategies than we do to sit down and talk about it. So when it comes to learning to say no, we want to reflect back and see what was my personal circumstances in my family and why couldn't I say no in my family? Did I learn to say no in my family? Do I need to learn what that looks like now that I'm an adult so that people don't keep, railroading me, walking all over the top of me? And do I need to understand what's happening for me internally in order that I can begin to process how I'm going to learn to say no? So for me, I came up through my family as being the caretaker for many and varied reasons, especially being the oldest child. I took care of my brother who was 13 months younger than me, and it was just a given. Now, so to the point where when he was having challenges at school, this is in grade 1 for him and grade 2 for me, we're very close in age, the teachers would call me out of my classroom to go and comfort him. They didn't ring parents. And so I've had to learn how to turn that around and begin to take care of myself. And one of those things that I had to learn was how to say no. How am I going to walk into a situation and stop being the caretaker and not be hard on myself and learn how to say no? And the first thing I needed to do was identify my needs. What were my needs, whether it was my needs as an adult, my needs as a mum, my needs as a wife, my needs as a single person, because we can't do it all and be it all for everybody. Time is limited. And also for us, if we're not saying no, it has a really big impact on our health, okay? Because we're completely drained. We're not giving out of a full heart. We're giving out of an empty well all the time. And we don't know that. And would have been a very big contributing factor to why I lost all my cognitive function, because I wasn't taking time to fill my well up and serve from being the overflowing well. I was just continually on the go for everyone and everything. So I went through this process probably when my kids were very young, and when somebody said to me, "You're allowed to say no," it was like the biggest shock of my life that someone was saying, "You have permission, you're allowed to say no to other adults as well." And so when we look at it, we want to ask questions about our relationships with other adults, because when we come out of a childhood filled with trauma, we're used to seeing into people, and we can often see what their motivations are, even though they aren't conscious of their motivations. And it can, I don't know about you, but it got me into all kinds of trouble when I didn't know that other people couldn't do what I did and seemed to people, okay? So it can get us into all kinds of trouble when we're saying, "Oh, I can see that's what's happening for you, what you want," and they're like, "No, I don't. I'm not like that." Okay? And I just know that you've all had that experience too. So one of the things we have to learn to dial back is being able to see what's happening for other people and start seeing what we need, okay? So saying no is not something that comes easy to us, because we were wired to do as we were told, to not question anything or anyone, and to live on high alert of other people's emotions and motivations, both verbal and non-verbal. And I really want you to think about the non-verbal cues that you were given. Now, when you think about non-verbal, think about if you walk into a room and somebody's angry, they don't have to say a word. You know that they're angry. And it's the same in our families. There's all these non-verbal cues about how we should and shouldn't be, how we should and shouldn't act, And nobody has to say a word because we've come up in the families and we just know. So we need to build in a conscious awareness of what those non-verbal cues are as well, in order that we can begin to pre-plan how we're going to say no. So in our initial stages, we're going to go through a thought process of, okay, I'm going to use my superpower of being able to see what's going to happen, and I'm going to pre-plan how I can say no. So for an example, think about we're coming into the Christmas period. Well, in some ways we're here, but around family get-togethers, and you know what's going to happen at that family get-together. You know what will be expected of you without anyone saying a word. And so what you want to do is sit down and say, okay, I know what the non-verbal expectations are. How do I want to go about pre-planning what I'm going to say? Now, one of the things about pre-planning is it's important to verbalize it, practice verbalizing, speaking out loud, how you're going to say no. And I've got some ideas here, 10 ideas of how we can say no without saying no directly, okay? Now, the reason that we pre-plan it and practice it is because we want to hardwire our brain that this feels comfortable to say. We want to get used to feeling that this is just, it's comfortable for me to say. Because you don't want to have a meltdown in the middle of saying no and then have to explain that you're trying to say no and it's not working and you feel really uncomfortable and it's causing you anxiety. You want to pre-plan it, pre-practice it, and go with what you know in what you feel is right for you, because you also want to be able to maintain as much harmony as possible in your interpersonal relationships. Now, I had a particular individual ring me from extended family at one time, and they're under the rule of thumb of their spouse. And I could tell by their non-verbal cues to me, even over the phone, that they wanted me to fix the problem. And I didn't. It was the first time in my life I didn't. And what I did was ask them questions about how they were going to solve the problem. But here's some ways that we can frame saying no without feeling pressure. Okay, but remember, pre-plan and practice. So we can say, that won't work for me. All right, that might be a bit blunt, but it is. We can say it gently and with kindness and say, well, I'm sorry, that won't work for me. And for that family member, they wanted me to rearrange a whole raft of things that involved my kids as well. And I just basically said, that won't work for me. You know, it was that simple. And that leaves people with them that they're adults and they have to sort out the situation themselves, okay? And if you want to get a bit firmer, you can say, I won't let you, whatever it is that you don't want to let them. I won't let you tell me how it's going to be for me. I need to do what's right for me, okay? So you really want to think about that one, because that can be strong. Another thing that we can say instead of no is tell me more. So be prepared to listen with that one and have the person tell you more, because sometimes when people talk things through, they come up with their own solutions anyhow, instead of expecting us to take on board what they need done, okay? And one of the best things I learned was to say, I can help you with this part of that equation. So imagine that you're part of a committee and you're always doing everything, and you want to start taking a step back and saying no, and someone comes up with an idea that you usually get lumped with organising everything, then it's time for you not to say, well, no, I'm not doing anything. It's time to say, I can do part X or part Y or part C, but other people have to step up into the other parts as well. And here's the good thing that I discovered over the years of saying no, is that when I say no, or when I stop being willing to be treated with bad behaviour, there are other people who always step in to fill the gap. Always. it's never failed. So I got used to saying no in a variety of ways and being honest and truthful, and other people stepped in. It was so easy in the end, but at first it was really, really hard. You can say that doesn't work for my time schedule, and that's pretty easy to do because you can have your diary there, and if it doesn't fit into your time schedule, it doesn't. And then people are going to have to adult and find other solutions, because we are not the solution to every problem for every person every day. Okay? There you can make suggestions. Here's another way you can try this. You can say, here's another person that you can contact for this. So take a step back, or even ask, how could you go about this? Or is there someone else you can contact? And if they say no, just say, well, I'm sorry. Then you revert back to, I'm sorry, but that doesn't fit in with my timing. And the other side of that is you can say, well, I can do part X and I can do it at this time. Okay? And that actually gives the other adult options as well as to what they want to choose to do about the whole situation. Okay. Oh, sorry about that, guys. You can say, I want to, sorry, this is my son. I just have to make sure he's okay. I'm sorry. Then I want to hear about your idea, and have you thought about asking X, Y, and Z? So even if you refer them to Google and say, have you researched what else you can do about this? Can you research other people that work in this area? All right, give them ideas, because sometimes some people just need more ideas than what they've got at this point in time. I like this one. If you closed your eyes and thought about this and really get the person to sit there and say, you know, what would be your solution? What can you see that you can do about this? And you can do that with a really kind heart, and that way they are coming up with their solution instead of relying on you to be adulting and caretaking all the time. And you can say, I know how hard you're working towards this, and see what they say. They may just need somebody, instead of you jumping in and automatically taking over. And look, we've all done it. We've all jumped in and gone, I can see the solution. I can see how this can pan out, and I can do this. But when we say, I know how hard you're working, oftentimes people just need that acknowledgement, and it gives them the strength to say, oh, okay, that's good. I can take my one next step myself. Okay, so if you want the download so that you can get all those suggestions handy, it's in the free professional resource library, which I will just give you the link for now. Pardon me. And the video will be in there as well, so that it's all easy to find. Sorry, I'm not really organised for a Friday morning at all. Probably because it's been a very, very busy week, and I've been changing things around as well. So I will put the link in for you, and if you need to print it out, you're more than welcome to print out the download, which is already there waiting for you. And if you need any questions answered, please feel welcome to ask, because sometimes we just need to talk it out ourselves to work through the process of how we can go about learning to say no as well. Okay, the resources are now in the comments, so feel welcome to join up and get all your free downloads, and there's lots in there in the library for you. And thank you for joining in this week. If you need a video done to help you, please feel welcome to private message me, and I will make it happen for you. Have a great week. Have a restful weekend as much as possible, and I will see you Monday. Bye for now.